I figured I'd get the financial news, out of the way there with all of the sales and the various prices, because apparently the WWE, UFC, TKO, I don't know if there was any bull figures there. There's some bull figures in here, all right, but bull riding figures, I don't know if that's involved yet. But it has this giant megalithic corporation has just sent out its earnings report, Brian, and I need help here. You're the wolf of Wall Street. And I am just, again, a simple small town bird lawyer. So I'm going to give you the headline, and you got to explain to me how the fuck can this be that the UFC and WWE umbrella, as it were, grossed $2.8 billion in 2024 and ended up making $6,400,000 in profit. What the fuck? I'm going to pay more taxes this year than they are. But at that point, was it worth it? All that work, Brian, all that struggle, all that work, all those people going to all those places and beating up their bodies and working in the office and slaving, working their fingers to the bone. All of that 24 hours a day, some going on 7 days a week somewhere around the globe, all these people to make $6 million? The fuck is going on here?
It's funny if you really think about it, like some guy comes home from work. Hey, I had a great year. We made $2.8 billion. Oh yeah, how much did you get to keep? $6.4 million. It's not even in the same category. They have a lot of debt, and it's a big company with a lot of expenses, even though they keep firing people. And Ari Emanuel's now a billionaire. I saw that.
Well, I think that the people running the thing are doing just fine. But when you think about it, that's kind of some kind of Tony Khan level stuff to be willing to spend almost $2.8 billion to make $6 million at the end of the year. And again, it's being reported that, the Kung Fu lawsuit.
Well, no, it wasn't Kung Fu. It was just Kung Lee. It has nothing to do with Kung Fu.
He was using Kung Fu.
No, I don't know exactly.
See, there, yeah. Don't know what discipline it was. Could have been Hapkido.
Well, it could have. I don't think it was that, and I don't think it was Kung Fu.
Could have been Taekwondo. See, you never know.
I think he was a kickboxer or something.
Well, and then see that maybe he'd have been, if he'd have changed disciplines, he would have been more successful. But that's like $375 million. And part of it is being paid this year. And they paid $250 million in interest. But again, that's okay. So there's five. You got more than $2 billion left over, and they make $6 million. The fucking profit margin on Cornette's collectibles last year was much closer to the gross. When we got down to the net, they missed the net and they fell all the way in the fucking hole. They're down the well.
When you worked for WWE, wasn't there one of those years where they netted like $6 million, or am I wrong? Or gross? No, it couldn't have been gross at that point.
No, you're thinking about the year that Vince was pissed off was 1995, I believe, or 95, right. 6 into the fiscal year, whatever. He lost $6 million.
That's what it was.
And he was fucking highly pissed, but I just can't fathom taking in $2.8 billion, and by the time you finish doing whatever the fuck you need to do, there's only $6 million somehow left over. And UFC is apparently most of the blame there, right? Because the WWE doesn't spend that much fucking money. And they were both about even in what they grossed. 1.4, well, yeah, about $1.4 billion each. But am I just picking at nits here to think, my God, you would think there would somehow this has to be a tax dodge or something for the IRS, because how the fuck there was only $6 million left over?
Well, you're good with your calculator, Jim. What percentage of 2.8 billion is 6.4 million?
Hold on, let me just enter that.
I'm sure that's exactly what it sounds like when you try to enter that.
Yeah, blow me with your calculator to enter that is the response that I'm getting here. You remember when you used to be able to, when the Texas Instruments calculator first came out, kids, and it became a thing in the public schools. It was great when you would write, like, what was it, 8008, and turn it upside down and it looked like boob. Whatever, that was a big deal. Well, that's about what I've got to say about the earnings report there, Brian. I think somebody needs to crack a whip at the office, maybe some later hours, put these people their nose to the grindstone, because, well, I mean, they've got to be ashamed of themselves, the employees, right? That's why that we're hearing the morale is low, because they're ashamed that they took in almost $3 billion and they were only able to keep 6 million of it. They don't think they're doing their jobs properly. That's why they're all depressed, right?
Well, these reports started coming out about morale issues and not necessarily in the locker room where it seems like everyone's just having a party. Or anyway, it doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the arena. It's all in the office, the new office. I don't know how much of this have you seen. I saw a little bit about it, but the story started going around. I think Brandon Thurston did a big write-up on it. And it's interesting because there's supposed to be this, I mean, they're making more money. Let me rephrase that because of what we're talking about. They're grossing more money than ever before.
Yes.
Obviously, it's not the giant net you would hope for with that, but is it something that should cause issues with the workforce that aren't the executives?
Well, I mean, I don't think that they're yet going to the lengths that Vince went when he made them take the water coolers out and not bring in any more bottled water or whatever. But we're hearing that at the same time as these grosses are setting records, these gates are off the charts. The rights deal, they're talking in billions of dollars, and they're cutting employee incentives, telling them they can't have any more free tickets. Cutting what was the goddamn plan they were cutting, where the employees would benefit from it in the end of it was an employee incentive program. The point is, all the people working in the office are getting put through the ringer, while these figures have never been higher, and still some way they say they're only making $6 million. So that's why morale is somewhat low around what do they call it now? Is it still Titan Tower #2, or what do they call that building these days?
That's a good question. I don't know what they actually call it. But how would you feel? Because you were never really there for that, where you're not getting a raise, where you're expecting a raise, where usually there'd be an annual raise, whatever the situation may be. You're not going to get it. You're not going to get increased benefits. You may lose some of your benefits. At the same time, you could see it's a publicly traded company. The major perks, the stock, everything being given to the top executives there, you could see how that would cause problems. You never had that. It was never like, we're struggling, but Vince just gave himself $28 million.
No, and that's the thing, is even then in the 90s, the amounts of money were somewhat realistic, that that anybody was talking about. It wasn't off the charts like this. And no, that's you got to think, for those people that are there in the office doing whatever they're doing, whatever department they're in, if they're getting a whip cracked at them and they got to live in that, I'm sure it's still an overpriced hellhole, Connecticut. to go through all that, and they're seeing the people running the company that are literally worth billions of dollars, and that the executive down the hall from you is just got $50 million worth of stock or whatever, and there's meanwhile down the hall even further, there's people getting their heads shit on. These people got to think, what the fuck? And now they're cutting my goddamn free tickets to the shows, and I don't get a goddamn Christmas bonus. That's got to be, and these people keep that thing going one way or the other. They've got to do their jobs. It's not like the company has ever been noted for bloating their staff of employees where people are sitting around with nothing to do because there's too many of them. So that's kind of a slap in the face. No wonder their morals are low.
Well, no wonder. Indeed.
Well,
I don't know what else to say. I mean, again, it's an interesting new era for WWE in this regard that, Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon. Now you have a bunch of figures who everyone knows, and you could see they're all just getting a ton of money. Vince, rewarded lots of, like Kevin Dunn was getting tons of stock. But I guess at least
the world's most miserable millionaire.
I guess at least some people felt that there was possible upward mobility, or at least they had good benefits. Whatever you want to say the excuse was, if all of a sudden you start cutting all those things, you start losing good people.
And it's always better to have good people than bad people, as Mama Cornette used to say.